What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Tits here, and I want to do a little Ogris gameplay discussion board type video, kind of like you'd see on forums. Um, just want to discuss the Ogris a little bit. If you guys know, like, there's some stuff I'm going to talk about real quick, and if there's anything you guys know, just leave comments. Let me know what you find, and anything you figured out or people have told you, anything you've tested, just leave comments. But there's a few things I wanted to talk about, kind of clear some stuff up with some people. So, with the Ogres, the one thing is that I know for sure is it used to not, all the elemental damages, if you had them all on, they used to not all work because, well, basically what would happen is, like, let's say you had 3 elemental damage mods on. Every time you shot a rocket, it would rotate between each elemental damage mod, kind of like Thunderbolt used to do. So only one would be, only one would be used. Well, 2 days ago they fixed this, so you can now use all the elemental mods, and they will all work at once with each rocket. I have tested this out for sure. Um, Multi-shot, I had some trouble with it. You don't see 2 rockets, at least I don't, and when I shoot at like friends, they don't see 2 rockets, and testing it out was kind of hard sometimes because of just getting single numbers sometimes, multiple sometimes, and different amounts sometimes, but everybody says it worked, so I just kept trying to test it again, and then it seemed like it did work because instead of getting like 1 impact body shot, I was getting 2 damage counters, and then the same with explosion. So it seems like the multi-shot was fine. Supposedly, this I haven't tested, but supposedly when people use puncture on this thing, even though I'm pretty sure puncture is not supposed to work on explosion type, bolt type, um, well, I guess what I'm about to say would make sense then, because it doesn't work with the explosion. Supposedly, when people shoot the rocket, the first damage type, the impact, will hit and the explosion will hit them, but then, like, I guess, like, it'll go through them and then the rocket will hit another person, but then you won't get the explosion type. Or maybe you're just getting the impact for both. I'm not sure, but supposedly the impact does work on the Ogris. But you definitely, you just don't, you either don't get the explosion on both impacts or just a second. What else? Obviously speed trigger works, and speed trigger works really well. Magazine works, you can get a couple more rockets. By the way, I'm going to do a build video tomorrow for this gun. I got rocket launcher, I got it to 30, so I'll do the build video tomorrow. The main thing that I wanted to talk about was like damage counters being so weird. It seems like, when you shoot enemies direct impact, you only get 1 or 2 damage counters sometimes, and they're low. And then some other times you'll get like 5 damage counters, and you'll get a good amount of damage. So, for that reason, I always just shoot the ground. That way, it's always the explosive AoE damage that's hitting the mobs, and you'll do the most damage that way. For the most, normally, depending on how close they are to the explosion, from the outer edge of the explosion to where the explosion happened, that determines the size of the damage. The closer in, the more damage. So I always hit the ground because you always will get the multiple damage counters because it'll hit all over the body. But I guess the reason the direct impact acts the way it does is because, from what I'm hearing from everywhere, like YouTube, Reddit, so on and so forth in the game, there's 2 damage types with this weapon: impact and explosion. The impact's terrible, it does like no damage. And then there's the explosion damage. Depending on how many body parts the enemy has and how many body parts that explosion technically hits, even though it looks like it should always hit them all, whenever the game calculates it, it only hits a certain amount, I guess. So sometimes you'll do a direct impact shot and get 5 damage counters or something, which is good, and you'll get a really high amount of damage done. But then there's plenty of times, even this video, where I'll shoot an ancient in the chest and only do 200 damage, and then do it again and get 2,000 damage. I'll get a bunch of 500s and 300s and so on and so forth. And what doesn't make sense is if I shoot him in the same spot twice, should it act the same way? But it doesn't. So it seems like yes, there is the two damage types. One's impact, and then the next is explosion. See, I was getting multiple damage counters there. Right there, I think I only got two, and then coming up here, I get like one on them. But let me see. There's two there, I think. Watch this runner here. 211. That's it. It's so crazy. It seems like what it is though is that basically when you do an impact shot, sometimes the game is just calculating it as the explosion's not hitting as many areas of the body, hence less counters. Or sometimes you don't get any counters, you just get the impact, and of course like the multi shot. So I mean, that doesn't make sense though, because if you hit in the chest over and over again in the same spot, you should always get those multiple counters to the explosion type. But maybe with the way the game calculates it, it's just not a good way. They have it set up in the files, like for the game, so it's just not that stable for testing it, the way I did by hitting them in the same spot. So if you want to get around that, just always shoot the ground and let the explosion damage hit them, and you will always do multiple counters and high damage instead of just doing direct impact, where a lot of times you won't get a bunch of counters from explosion damage. You'll do really weak damage because it'll just be impact damage. Um, Let me see what else. Sonar also seems to work on this, and Vortex works really great with it. Anything else, I haven't really figured anything else out with the weapon. So let me know what you guys find, and yeah, please comment, like, subscribe, and just leave comments. And hope this video helped you out. Catch you guys later. Peace.